Giles Dixon from ContractStore is going to give us some tips on pricing and payment terms in your contracts.
You will no doubt have already agreed with your client precisely what the service is you're going to provide and the price for it. But have you agreed all the payment terms? Because they're very important. To give you an example, if you're a website designer and you've agreed a price of £3,000 for 2 months' work, you don't want to have an agreement where you get paid at the end of the job, particularly if the client doesn't like it, he may not want to pay you. So you should structure the payment in stages, maybe 40% up front, 50% when the job's finished, and perhaps 10% left over for a month or two during which there is some snagging work done. One reason for having stage payments is to get buy-in from the client, because once he's paid some money on account, he's much more likely to be committed to paying the rest of the job rather than perhaps changing his mind later on. You also need to be sure that you have a payment period in your contract, so when invoices are issued, the contract will say that invoices must be paid within so many days, 14 days, 28 days, whatever.
What can I do if I'm not paid on time?
First of all, make sure that you issue your invoices when the contract says you will, and don't delay, even if you've got a problem with the client. That's the contract. Issue the invoices. Follow up. If he hasn't paid by the due date, you might even send a reminder before then, and certainly send one afterwards. In your contract, you can have a clause which allows you to claim interest on late payment. And in fact, on business-to-business transactions, there is legislation in this country which allows you to claim interest at 8% above Bank of England base rate, which is quite a healthy rate. Not everybody actually claims the interest, but it's a handy threat for a late paying client.
And what happens if the project changes after it's begun?
Well, again, it's sensible to have a provision which deals with that, so that if the client requests a variation, you will have a daily rate perhaps, or an hourly rate, which would be applied for extra money. You would also have the right to alter the timing of the contract, because it might take longer, or it might even be shorter. But have a variation clause that deals with those issues, which again takes a lot of the hassle out of negotiating a variation. And don't go ahead with the variation until those things have been agreed and the adjusted price and time schedule have been agreed.
What can I do if I'm not paid at all?
Well, the ultimate sanction is to take the client to court. And the county court procedure, particularly for small claims, is relatively straightforward. You don't need a lawyer. It's designed for small claims that you don't have to have a lawyer, and a lot of it can be done online. There are other ways, of course. You can use debt collectors. But if the client has got a reason for not paying, then try not to avoid it. Tackle it head on. Sort it out with them if you can. And if you can't, there are methods of resolving disputes which don't involve the courts. For example, mediation, where an independent mediator would work between you to try to sort the difficulty out and get agreement.
So having a good invoicing and follow-up procedure is important, and my ultimate recourse would be the small claims court.
Yes, that's the case. It's very much a last resort, but the best thing is keep on top of it, negotiate, be friendly with the client, try and get the deal sorted.